Hi, this is Tony Kobza, and this is my Chapter 8 assignment focusing on Common Core. I focused on a couple of reforms. The first one I started with was called Race to the Top. It's on www.whitehouse.gov. And there were four main keys that Race to the Top is focused on. And the first one is the development of rigorous standards and better assessments, and making sure that there are expectations that are high enough that our kids are being held to a standard that really will help them be successful post high school. And then better assessments, just making sure that they're able to see what you're getting from the information, what information you're getting from the tests, and making them um, more relevant to what we're trying to get accomplished in the standardized testing. Adoption of better data systems to provide for schools, teachers, and parents. This is in order to make sure that everyone is on the same page. Everybody has all the information they need so they can make the best decision possible when choosing a school or when trying to see where funding or support needs to go. Support for teachers and school leaders become more effective. Obviously, one of the things that is a huge hot topic right now is professional development and funding for professional development. My school district is doing a Omaha Public Schools, and it's specifically Omaha Benson. We are doing a lot of professional development as we move towards a career academy structure of our school. And the support for teachers, one of the things that was talked about when doing surveys and research was that there was not enough professional development or opportunity for um, common plan time, things like that that could help us be more successful and effective. And then also an increased emphasis of resources for interventions needed to turn around low performing schools. And a lot of times, low performing schools, there's a lot of different reasons, there's a lot of different thought processes why a school is low performing. But this Race to the Top is intended to help focus funds on interventions needed to turn around the lowest performing schools with different programs and strategies in order to do so. The next reform, this happened just recently with Every Child Achieves Act. Uh, the Senate was voted on this to look at how they can expand early childhood education. Resources will continue through this, as opposed, this is kind of hoping to replace No Child Left Behind, but there would be resources that will continue for higher poverty schools. Those schools seem to have typically performed lower on standardized testing, so as much support as they can get as possible to help increase and make sure every student is receiving an opportunity to succeed. This also eliminates the academic yearly progress, which is eliminating staff and closing schools. Allows ELL students to test in their native language for up to 3 years. This will allow them to be more successful in their first 3 years of schooling in order to see exactly where they're at academically. And then finally, it gives the states the authority for school interventions. It removes some of the government, the federal government evaluation process, and it gives the states a little bit more opportunity to choose what they feel is important and what test scores they feel should or should not be counted. The influence of Common Core from a national interest. I found an article on Capitol Hill Daily, and it talked about what special interest groups were focused on the influence of Common Core, and specifically the Gates Foundation has donated a lot of money to develop the Common Core and to promote the Common Core. And there are some who are very thankful for that, some who are very appreciative and feel like that is a great progress, great step in the right direction. Then there are others who look at the national interest and the special interest groups that they look at it as a big business opportunity, and they look at it as a monetary decision as opposed to being driven specifically for the educational success of students. So the special interest groups that are donating the money, it depends on what side of the coin you're on, whether you're looking at it from a, hey, great, this is awesome, these foundations and these businesses are donating a lot of money to help with education, or if you look at it from a standpoint of, well, these businesses are profiting from textbook sales or different philosophies that they have. And then from a Common Core, the influence on our nation, I think there's a huge disparity between schools of low income versus schools that are not of not as high levels of low income students. And when you put a Common Core on a whole country of schools, it can cause some disparities and some disinterest and some unhappiness, I guess, from those involved in the schools, whether it's teachers, students, parents, community, whatever it might be. And then from an influence on political leaders, specifically answering the question with presidential candidates, when looking at the Republican candidates, there are there are many Republican candidates right now that have announced their candidacy for presidency. And when you look at them, specifically Jeb Bush, he is someone who is pro Common Core. And very quickly after he announced that he was going to run, other candidates attacked through ads his belief in the Common Core because there is a very strong feeling against Common Core. So depending on what side you're on, the presidential candidates, some are going to run with a promotion of Common Core, promotion of standardized testing, and some are going to be very anti-standardized testing, which will be a huge hot topic as the presidential election moves forward. Some of the pros of Common Core, it gives us an opportunity to compare ourselves to other countries. It gives us an opportunity to see from a standardized test how our students stack up against other countries. Professional development for teachers is more uniform, so it doesn't require as many alternatives. It can give you a more uniform, consistent approach to how you're going to try to help teachers be successful in the classroom. And it saves money on test scoring. So that's a huge pro of Common Core. Common Core is intended to help increase in problem solving and critical thinking skills, which is something that a lot of people would feel has deteriorated over the last several years and decades in the United States educational system. And it gives us an opportunity to track students' progress, to see how students improve from year to year based on their test scores on their Common Core. And ultimately increase the rigor in the classroom to make sure that students are being challenged, to make sure that students are feeling an expectation increase so that students are not just going through the motions. They have to they have to meet some expectations and standards to improve themselves. From a cons for Common Core, it's very broad and for non-specific standards. So there are some areas that can't be as precise or exact with what the Common Core is trying to do. Earlier and higher level thinking skills begin before pre-kindergarten. So one of the concerns is that a student who enters kindergarten, if they are drastically behind their peers, how do they catch up? How do we get them to the point of being able to be successful? And will that Common Core punish them? Need for technology to access the online-based standards. There's a lot of school districts that are cutting funds. There's not as much money, and technology a lot of times is unfortunately one of those things that gets cut before a lot of other things. So when you don't have the technology, it makes it more difficult to access the online-based standards, and it's more high-stakes testing. If a student does poorly, then that's going to be something that punishes them, punishes the school, and it can hurt them for the next few years. And then finally, a transition for teachers and students to spot the Common Core. This is obviously going to be something that's going to be a rocky road as we move forward, and the Common Core can be a bumpy ride, and hopefully that we are able to be focused and make sure that that students and teachers are able to get on the same page and be as successful as possible. After being presented with this information and seeing some of the research that I looked into, I still view Common Core as something that is so broad that sometimes it can be a very big challenge to try to make everyone fit on the same page. I've had several classes that from one day to the next or 1 hour to the next, the classes are very, very different in dynamics, different in structure, and the personalities are so different that it makes it very hard to have a common, consistent theme. It gives you the opportunity to see people on one same similar level, but sometimes I think Common Core does take away from the creativeness and personality. Now, one of the arguments against what I just said is that if you teach to the standard, then you will have the opportunity. You don't teach to the test, you teach more to the standard. You'll have the opportunity to be creative, and students will learn because of that. It'll be interesting to see how things move forward, whether or not the No Child Left Behind Act is replaced or if it's vetoed, and we'll see what kind of plan and action they have to make sure that we are as successful as possible by implementing it.